Tune in to UFO Undercover, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
I had enough.
Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had some sort of loud verbal display challenging ET in general out in the middle of nowhere?
That's what I was doing. I actually had a pistol in my hand at the time. I was really ticked off. When I was having this fit, I was waving the gun in the air, okay, and I had this fit. And at this moment, I said, okay.
He was a Louisiana man named Montaldo. Folks around called him Six Gun Joe. Worked with ICAR, don't you know? Investigating UFOs. Out for a drive with a gal one night, they stopped to check out the reporting site. When an alien lit right there on the ground, he commenced to throwing his weight around. Now, old Six Gun didn't take too kindly to that kind of thing, especially without Vaseline or anything like that, Seriously. Well, Six Gun looked that critter right in the eye and said, "Any last wish before you die?" Yo, reached for his gun, quick as a twitch, and said, "Fill your claw, you son of a bitch." Now, a legend spread across the land about this pistol-waving man. But if you're from space or from Earth below, you don't give no lip to Six Gun Joe.
And then they produce the fruit.
Visit paltalk.com. If you are listening to the show and wish to join us in the chat room, visit paltalk.com. Go to the social issues, select other, and enter the UFO Paranormal Radio Network.
I had enough.
Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had some sort of loud verbal display.
Hello, this
Orders.
is 778-2272. Again, 636-278-2272. Or visit my website, angelathomas.org. I'm considered a psychic, so I provide accurate and detailed psychic readings for individuals as well as groups. Remember, no matter what influences your life at the moment, live life to the fullest. Stay in gratitude, count your blessings, and prepare yourself for more opportunities around the corner. I'm Psychic Angela Thomas, and my website is angelathomas.org.
Tune in to the Mind Cemetery with your hosts Chip and Nicole every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Exclusively on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. We delve into UFOs, abductions, ghosts, aliens, conspiracies, and cryptozoology.
And how could you ever forget about those creepy topics you won't hear on your local news?
This is where I would insert my obligatory... The Mind Cemetery, where the paranoia about the paranormal comes to rest.
Follow us on Twitter and subscribe to us on Facebook. Also, check us out on our website, mindcemetery.com, for show updates and the critically acclaimed Mind Cemetery blog.
It's not critically acclaimed, but you should check it out anyway, mindcemetery.com.
The paranormal,
ghosts,
spirits,
demons,
reincarnation,
past lives,
the afterlife,
divination,
exorcisms,
witchcraft,
the unseen.
He's psychic medium Chris George.
And he's Victor the Voice Berman.
We are Second Sight Radio. Join us live
every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time
on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Benetti, and along with Joe Montaldo, we host News on the Flip Side. Come join us every Saturday night at 7 p.m. Central for our 3-hour program. We have opinions on everything, and we're not afraid to share them. False history gets made all day, every day. The truth of the new is never on the news, but you can find it here with News on the Flip Side. Remember, don't be politically correct. Just be correct. Join us.
You're listening to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network. Tune in to UFO Undercover, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
I had enough.
Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had...
Yo, give notice.
Joe Montaldo.
Young man write to me last week and asked me why I do that intro, and I said because this show, believe it or not, goes out to every time zone in the world, everyone. We have, on average, over 160 countries a week listen to this show, and so we're represented across the entire planet, and major countries and small countries. Hell, I'm reading the list the other day. I seen 2 countries I've never even heard of. I had to go look them up on Wikipedia, man. Like, what the hell is this? And kind of cracked me up. I thought I knew all the countries, but apparently I missed a couple along the way. But so we're well represented. So, every week I like to greet everyone because even in the United States, it's late evening in New York. It's ending of afternoon in California. In Hawaii, it's still, early afternoon. So you got to be fair to your listeners. And I know it's hard because, I got some California friends write to me from time to time, and they're catching me at 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, which is tough. Rush hour traffic, trying to get home at 5, it's a tough thing to do, but I appreciate everybody. But guys, you don't rush. You can get us on your cell phone, okay? Or if you got, or we're in a couple of different ways. You can pick us up on different satellite radio channels. So, look, especially this show, you can pick it up all over the place. It's syndicated on 40 or almost 50 AM and FM shows now, so stations. So, I'm not that hard to find. But if all else fails, you can pick us up with any app. I mean, any radio app carries this network. We have our own app, but iTunes has us on 3 different places on there, and every freaking app you can think of, you can find us on. So we're real easy. So don't rush. Don't get yourself in a bind. Program us into your phone. Put your phone on Bluetooth. Listen to your radio on your way home and enjoy the show. And that's just the best way to do it. We're living in a much more modern society, people. Start to use these technologies. That's all I can tell you is start to use these technologies. Tonight's guest is going to be Jason Chapman, and Jason had sent me an email, but it was kind of weird the way this worked out. And we got 2 more shows in December coming in to finish the series out, but there's a couple of books coming in dealing with both religion, ufology, and a couple other things in between. Like if y'all were listening last week, we were talking about the Book of Enoch and actually quite a few other things, but I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but when the show was named UFO Undercover, I caught too much flack for venturing too far out of what ufology likes to call the box. I'm not sure what the box is supposed to be, but y'all know I don't like being in a box. I can't help myself. I'm not well contained. I like to move around and explore, and I like to, I have a wide range of topics that I'm interested in, so I like to keep a foot on them. But, when I had seen the email, because right now I'm running probably 4 weeks or 6 weeks back on most of my emails. So they probably were both thinking, oh, this guy can never write to me, man. But I had seen the title of the book, The Angel Conspiracy, and I was like, wow, I wonder what this is about. And I said, well, you know what? Let me write to the gentleman, and we'll bring you on the show and find out together. So I want to welcome Jason Chapman to the show. Jason, how you doing?
Good evening, Joe. How are you?
Pretty good. And ladies and gentlemen, so you know, Jason is on the other side of the planet. It is the wee hours in the morning, so be nice. he's staying up chat with y'all. You know, it's going to be like 3 a.m. for him when he gets off. So Jason, how you been, man?
I've been very well, thank you, Joe.
That's good. I mean, I've seen this. Sorry it takes me so long to get. I always apologize to the guests when they write to me because I love everybody on the show, but I do usually run 4 to 6 weeks behind on everything. It gets crazy lately, but that's just how it is. But let me go ahead and let you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and maybe why you got involved in all of this, because he has more than one book out. We're going to get into that later. But why don't you go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, I'm a writer from Wales in the UK, and I was into the UFO research field from the early 90s onward. And I took a road trip out to Area 51 in 1995 because I was inspired by the show The X-Files. Discovered, actually, although there is a base out there, Area 51, there's not really a whole lot to see.
True.
So over the last 20 years, I've been writing various articles and, just doing background UFO research. I don't really like to be in the limelight because there's just too many, there's just too much clutter on the internet at the moment regarding UFOs. And in 2012, I decided to embark on a book series, a fictional book series. I'd read many books on UFOs before, and although there are a few books out there which are fiction, I thought I'd write one based on Churchill's secret UFO group, the Flying Saucer Working Party, which operated back in the 1950s. More people are familiar with things like Majestic 12. But in the 1950s, in 1952, Churchill wrote a memo to one of his chief scientific advisors asking about information regarding UFOs. I think this was just after the 1952 Washington UFO flap, which hit the headlines all over the world. So Churchill thought he'd get in on the act and find out more about it. Since 1950, a group called the Flying Saucer Working Party had been active within the government, investigating UFO sightings all over the country. It was led by a man called Sir Henry Tizard. He was a radar pioneer during the war, and he felt that UFOs deserved more investigation. There was just more to these stories than what people were saying. And I thought it would be a fascinating idea for a book series. So in 2012, I brought out the Angel Committee, which was basically followed a Cambridge professor who was asked by Churchill to investigate UFO sightings in the UK. And this guy, this Cambridge professor, he's a little like Robert Langdon, Dan Brown's series. He doesn't believe in things like UFOs at first until he has a real RAF base in Yorkshire. And it all kicks off from there. He encounters aliens and CIA and KGB agents all over the country, the UK, trying to get their hands on information. Everyone's spying on everyone else. It's a little like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy meets the X-Files. And originally, I only intended to write the one-off book. And then I thought, no, keep on going with this, because this is set in 1952. I discovered then 70 years of UFO history to write about. So I've just released the second book now, the follow-on to the Angel Committee, the Angel Conspiracy, which is a continuation of Extension Part 2, where it continues the adventures of Professor Frederick, and in this book he teams up with a CIA agent on loan from Majestic, and together they take on the KGB, aliens, Chinese Secret Service, and it was very much inspired by the X-Files. I loved the X-Files back in the day, and a few years ago I thought, well, there's no kind of literature. There's nothing on the television which matches that. Fringe was on, but it didn't really deal with UFOs. It was more paranormal and alternate realities, if I recall. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be good if there is, something out there what people could relate to, like the X-Files? So I started writing this, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it now, and I'm currently scribbling away at the third book.
Hey, go for it. Shit, I'd be
yeah.
glad if I could write one. I've been trying to write one for 10 years, so I'm happy for anybody who can write a damn book. I really am. It's somebody asked me, somebody told me, well, that's easy. I said, it's easy for some people. Like our good dear friend Nick Redfern, I think he's got 10 now or 12 or something. Some people can just write them. And some people write good books. They can write a bunch of good books. Personally, I've got the outline for two, but I just don't have, I don't know, the imagination, or I'm not sure what it is. It's just, to me, the booger is in the detail, and one of the organizations I run is detail orientated. But for me I could bombard people with stats and numbers all day, but of course, you don't put your night-night. That's not going to do you any good. It may be good for a researcher book, but for general population, no. You'd be like, what the hell does this mean? And I thought about writing about personal experiences. I don't know. I can't seem, I watch a writer take an idea, maybe a 5-word idea, and turn it into 3-4 pages. I just don't have that skill. It's going to be like a paragraph, maybe 2 if I'm lucky. So, you can see my problem here. So I could write a book. It'd be like 8 pages, maybe 20. But I don't think we're going to.
Well, short stories, perhaps.
Maybe. It's, but go ahead.
When I wrote the Angel Committee, I bought it out, and I was sat on Amazon looking at it, at my work, and I thought, this is not enough. So I did bring out a short stories series then called Tales from Majestic, and basically it's a spin-off from the Angel Committee, and it starts off in Roswell, New Mexico, 1947. Now, I know a lot of people probably rolling their eyes, going, oh, not Roswell again. But it doesn't actually focus on Roswell much. It spins away from that and follows the Majestic team as they themselves investigate UFO sightings and aliens in the US. And it's very much, again, a Cold War short story thriller. And I'm releasing season 2 next year as well. So,
excellent.
I'm very busy at the moment. And this is a full-time job I got as well. So, I'm up all hours.
Hey, if it works for you and you can make a living at it, even better.
I've got an IV drip with coffee permanently injected into me.
Well, it's a weird thing, but I have never met anybody involved with this field that isn't, how can I say this, overly multitasking. None of us seem to just multitask. It's like multitask on steroids or something. It's ridiculous the amount, because I stay busy, and I don't know anybody who I work with personally or any matter of fact, I've been doing this for 14, 15 years. I've been doing interviews now, and I don't think 14 years. And I don't think I've interviewed anybody who really wasn't like always. Average people involved in the field, in I hate to say ufology, but in the ufology area or genre, it's seem to get maybe 4 hours sleep a day, maybe 6 if they're healthy, maybe 6, but not any more than that. And when you call them, somebody wrote to me the other day and said, how do I get hold to you? I said, you keep trying till you get hold to me. I said, so I'm not trying to be mean or anything else. It's just how it is. I said a lot of people catch me after shows, or they'll catch me, when I'm out speaking or something like that. It's easier to catch me like that. Catching me on the phone, unless you're somebody I know and talk to regularly, that's tough. Emailing me is great, but like I said at the beginning of the show, it does take me a little while to respond. And I tell people all the time, don't get disheartened or something. I will write back. If you write me a letter, I will write back to you. It may take me a little while, but I will. I answer all my mail personally, which is
yeah, well, you got to. I tried to do it as much, but sometimes
it's stuff that falls through the cracks, and the more you get known, the harder it is to keep up. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Everyone wants to talk to you, and sometimes I got 3 or 4 people at a time talking to me on Facebook, and it gets rather confusing. So and they talk to me about the book or UFOs, or I don't claim to be there are other researchers that are far more expert on the subject than me. Researchers in the field like Nick Redfern and Nick Pope. And there are a few very good researchers over here, like Philip Mansell and Kevin Goodman, who keep the subject alive. They do their best to keep it alive. I mean,
if you ever need any help over there, one of my directors, Sasha Christie, she's like a whirlwind firecracker, man. Lord.
Sasha is a live wire, isn't she?
Oh, you know Sasha? Oh, yeah. She's my director. Yeah. She's our UK director. She also works with the Ewing sisters. I can't think of the name of the group now. Starborn, and took me forever to spit that out. It's but she just had a baby, so maybe it'll slow her down a little bit. I'm not thinking so. She's a hell of a whirlwind.
On the go.
Yeah, there's a lot goes on over there. UK's busy. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you hear over there. Nick Pope, I'm still up in the air about. I've interviewed him probably 12 or 14 times now. Sometimes some interviews I like him more than others. I have no idea why. It's one of them things. It's probably more feeling than it is anything else. But I've been doing this for 31 years in the field itself, and 15 years at radio. So it just seems, for me, it seems like all of these ufologists, they come out, they make a name, and then basically they live off the original name they made, and there's not much else out there. I mean, I don't really see, they're always trying to spin something new, but really, I haven't seen anything I would consider an earth-shattering new in ufology in more than 2 decades. They can try to spin a bunch of BS, but really, there's not.
I think, Joe, a lot of people share your opinion on that. I've spoken to a few radio interviewers over the last few months who have said the same thing. There is nothing new coming out of the UFO field. And if you ask me, it's happened since the birth of the internet. And I've said it many times in the past. The government, as far as I'm concerned, whether it be the US government or the British government or other governments around the world, they won their battle against the UFO community. And their main weapon has been the internet. And you only got to go on Facebook, Twitter, all these social networking sites, where a lot of groups have nothing left to do but share YouTube clips of CGI videos captured in this country, that country, the other country. And, it's frustrating when you look through these clips and you think, why are these people sharing these fake videos? And it's probably because there's nothing new out there. There's absolutely nothing, the field, the field is dead. There's someone up high laughing their heads off right now thinking, we've beaten you, we've beaten you to the ground.
But it's not them, it's the field itself because they settle. That's what they do. Ufology settles. Like I said earlier, they'll get a name and then they'll be like, okay, well, I got my name now. I don't have to do anything else. And they'll put out new books or they'll put out new theories and stuff, but it's nothing that hasn't already been presented somewhere else or along the lines of someone else's work or things like that. And it's just a sad state of affairs because I had a couple of friends of mine. I haven't gone to conferences in the last 2 years because I'm kind of bummed out on them. So I had some friends of mine just to see if I was missing anything, just off cue. So the one in London, the one in Joshua Tree, and one of the other ones, I had him. He had bought the sets, so he sent them to me. And basically, everything they talked about, I've heard before. Everything.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I ain't even been in 2 years, and everything that was said at all those conferences I've heard before. And I'm thinking, really, guys? Really? And you know this because when we used to do the tour, when we went on the conference tour, man, it got to be old after 2 or 3 years, 4 years. Nothing seemed to be new. It was like, and really, how much original material can you do? Oh, you can write this book or write that book, or you can chime in on this or chime in on that. But in reality, they're not looking. Most ufologists are not looking for the truth. They're looking for something else.
You're probably right there. I wouldn't,
not all of them, mind you, but a lot of them.
I've often thought, if the truth is revealed, there'll be a lot of UFO researchers out of work all of a sudden.
Yeah, there will be.
I used to do the UFO conference circuit in the 1990s in Great Britain. You used to go all around, and you're right, you go to these conferences, they get very repetitive, and you sit there falling asleep thinking, I've heard this at the last conference. And the same could be said on TV.
Oh, yeah.
You guys have all the documentary. We have all the history too, and the History Channel and National Geo over here. And Ancient Aliens is an example of how repetitive stuff can get, because it seems like researchers on that show just try and rehash the same material every series.
Well, what cracks me about them is, you're right, they rehash the same material, but sometimes they'll change their view on it. I'm like, is this a good or a bad?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to.
I love listening to Giorgio, because he can really sound like this. But, yeah, I'd love a chat with him. I mean,
well, I've met Giorgio a few times, and then I worked. I was invited to the End of the World thing, the gig they did in New Orleans, because I live in New Orleans, and he came down here and threw a big End of the World party in New Orleans for 2012. That's where he was. So,
and what did happen to the End of the World?
Well, I got drunk along with a bunch of other people that were there, but I was there until 2 a.m. It was great, and then they got even busier early. But I think they stayed open to like 6 or 7 a.m. We were actually there for press. But Giorgio is a great host. I've interviewed him on a bunch of occasions. He's always a lot of fun. And what I like about Giorgio is he doesn't take a stance. He's not trying to prove anything to anybody. He basically lets you know, no, I'm into the field, but I'm more of the guy of like presenter. I'm not a ufologist. I'm a presenter. He doesn't even try to act. So he's not trying to pawn off any of his own personal research on you. He's just, basically reading a monologue, which is fine by me. As long as you're on with it, I don't have a problem with it. But it's some of the other ones who want to say they're in it for this reason or that reason, and you're like, really now? Then why aren't you doing this, that, or the other thing? And that goes away fast.
I mean, I know in the last year or so, there are a few people who are not happy with what I'm doing, because basically I'm writing fiction, so they're saying, oh, you're just taking what UFOs and turning it into something else. I said, yeah, maybe you're right, I am, but
that's how you get kids interested. Let's be honest. I'm sorry, God, I didn't mean to cut you off.
There's nothing else to do now but write the story of how we got to this point with the UFO community. And to be honest with you, fiction can often stir more debate than fact. You only got to look at shows like The X-Files or films like Close Encounters. There's a current film going around the circuit at the moment, starring Michael Ironside, called Extraterrestrial. And it looks like one of them, horror, paranormal mashups about alien abduction, and I know very little on that subject, but I know there are a lot of people who are big on that subject. And I was having a conversation with someone the other night. I posted something on Facebook because they were complaining about this film. And I said, whether you like it or not, Hollywood, and writers like myself are a necessary evil, because films like Independence Day, TV shows like The X-Files, Dark Skies, Spielberg's Taken, they generate interest in the subject of UFOs. And to be honest with you, that's how I got into it in the first place. And I remember watching Spielberg's Close Encounter for the first time. I thought, wow, I was just blown away by it. And I thought, there has to be something to this, And Spielberg hasn't done anything in ages about aliens, unless you count that absolutely awful film Super 80 did a few years back, which is like a Stand By Me crossover E.T.
I'm not sure what that mess was. But, as many jits as he got, we won't hate on him for one day. Carol, no, actually the T is silent. It's Tsuklios. Yeah, Tsuklios. Yeah, I always do that. I always say Tukli, but it's actually the T is silent. Tsuklios. Yeah, you just got to remember when you're talking to him. He'll correct you. Don't worry. He's not shy. I'm just saying. He's not real shy. He'll correct you if you pronounce his name wrong. Most people, well, no, that's not, when somebody screws your name up, they should correct it. That's one of those things.
Yeah.
It's, and trust me, I'll push it to you. Good.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes TV, I think the documentaries aren't enough. And at the moment on TV, it's being dominated by superheroes, vampires, Game of Thrones. And it would be nice to see something going back to old school about alien conspiracies on TV. But at the moment, doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon.
Well, I know I got in trouble with the field just recently because I asked a question that I guess I shouldn't have. I said, I don't understand. We have more TV shows dealing with UFOs now than we ever have since I've been alive, but yet the size of the field is declining and the youth in the field is almost non-existent. I said, we're doing something wrong, guys. Yeah. Obviously, we're not appealing to the young people, and obviously, we're not even really appealing to the old people because the size of the groups aren't growing. I mean, MUFON's still the same size it's been for I don't know how many years.
Yeah, the young and the old. The old, I think, are fed up with hearing the same old dribble. I know it's not all dribble, you know.
There's some good stuff, but
and the young the young aren't interested in anything these days, are they? Besides Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto, you know. That's the way it is these days, and perhaps we need a major event, you know, to shake everyone out of their slumber. I mean, I think you're right as far as you know, nothing has happened. I think the only glitch over the last few years, and it may not be UFO related, or it is UFO related, is Gary McKinnon, the hacker. I followed that case closely, and when he got off, I thought, well, you know, why did he get off? And when you think about it, the reason I believe he got away with what he did is because he was using UFOs as a defense. And I don't think the US government was comfortable with dragging his person over to the US, putting him on trial, because you know what trials are like these days, they go on for months. Because his defense, when they would have asked him why he hacked the US defense system, he said, I was looking for information relating to UFOs. And I don't think the US government would have been comfortable with calling expert witness after expert witness, like what they do in these court cases, and you know, talking about UFOs, because it would have brought UFOs back into the limelight. So I think, although I said earlier about the government winning the battle, there is a little resistance still somewhere. You know, there's little pockets of information you see, you think, oh, right, you know, and I think what somewhere in someone's dusty attic, whether it be in the US, a former retired Air Force, there's a wealth of information just ready to be put out there. Because back in the 1950s, although everything was secret, there was still information getting out. I remember reading the case on the two spies, Don McLean and Guy Burgess, and apparently they used to carry secret information out of MI6 by the suitcase load and return them on Monday. And no one used to bat an eyelid. And I'm thinking, you know, somewhere in an attic somewhere, there's an old film reel or files which have yet to be released. And, you know, I think someone out there needs to go looking for them, you know. Kind of like looking for the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones.
Well, I think somebody needs to be out there looking for that. You know, I was talking with a friend of mine the other day about all this and how we're going to expand and what are we going to do to change the field and how can we get more people interested in it. It's a tough thing. I mean, but I think part of it is there's been such a big paranormal movement over the last 7 or 8 years, maybe the last decade. I think it's actually hurt ufology. I really do. I think for some reason, I hate to say it like this, but for some reason it's easier to believe in the paranormal than it is in ufology. Or, as a good friend of mine once told me, she said, Joe, I would rather think there was a ghost in my house every day over a little gray alien. She said, I'm just going to be blunt with you about it. So, unfortunately, aliens still scared the bejesus out of a lot of people, too.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you only got to look on Facebook, the amount of paranormal groups on there. We live in changing times. We live in, you know, dark times as well. And I suppose whether you could compare ufology with religion, I don't know. You know, I was having an argument with someone the other day on the belief system. You know, when someone excuse me, when someone asks you if you believe in UFOs or do you believe in aliens, I think it's not a question of belief anymore.
No, it's not.
It's a question of accepting. I mean, when you look at what science is doing at the moment to discover new planets out there, especially planets which could harbour life, and you think, well, it's not a case of believing anymore, it's a case of looking at and accepting, yes, there could be life up there, you know. And, well, you ask anyone in the street now, and if you ask them, do you think there's other life out there? Most people will say, yeah, there's probably other life out there. If we're here, you know, if we are here, there must be something else out there. And over the last 20 years, since they've since they've been finding these planets, you know, speculation has been rife on whether they'll find a planet with life on it. And I think one BBC astronomer a few years back said that it's highly likely we'll discover life outside our own solar system before we discover other life in our solar system. So it's all fascinating. So I think in regards to the UFO community at the moment, it is changing, you know, and a lot of people are leaving, and it's a shame, you know.
It is. Well, a lot of them are dying off too, so I hate to say it that way, but they are.
Well, yeah, the researchers have been going.
Well, this is I tried, and I got in trouble for this one too. I had mentioned this to a very famous ufologist. I said, this is what the real problem is. I said the average age of a ufologist today is 55, maybe 58. I said the average age of someone working in a paranormal field is 30 or below.
Yeah.
Like, guys, I mean, that says a whirlwind right there. Now, we do, ICAR, fortunately, we're the largest UFO organization in the world. Unfortunately, 1/3 of our membership is below the age of 30. But we also recruit on a regular basis. We want younger people in the organization. My U.S. director, the guy who will probably, either him or one of the ladies will probably replace me in the future, are in their mid-30s now. So, you know, whenever I step down 5, 10 years, whenever it is, they'll take over, and they'll have been with us since the beginning. And it really is a difference. But I don't know what the field is going to do. It's got to do something. It's got to generate some interest in younger people. There's lots of good sci-fi movies out there, but that doesn't seem to interest people in ufology or in UFOs or anything for that matter. I mean, yet you put a decent sci-fi series out there, good space sci-fi, it'll do well, but it doesn't seem to push them back to us, I guess. I guess you can get your sci-fi on the internet now, or your ET on the internet. You don't need anything else. It's a tough one. And I tell people all the time, you know, it's funny you said that because, you know, we tell people all the time, first off, do your own homework. Go out there and search. Don't believe everything you see on the internet, because about 85% of everything dealing with ufology is absolute garbage.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely, completely garbage. And we tell people all the time, this is not a belief system. This is not about God. This is about ET. You either know they're here or you don't. You've either seen one or seen enough research to know that we're not alone, or you don't. I said, there's no need to believe. I said, you'll either know that they're here or they're not, or you can suspect that you're here. But believe is just not the word to use in ufology. Now, when we talk like angels and demons and stuff, yeah, it's a good word to use, but not so much in context of ufology. It's not about believing. And I get calling out all the time because I'm hard on that, and I don't give a shit what ufologist you are. One of the things that gets me in trouble with the field is I have a tendency to say what I'm thinking. So,
I think we need more people like that, Joe.
Yeah, well, but you see, they don't like people like me. You know, I've been in the field a long time, and I get to speak if I want to. And if I'd put out more books and materials, I'd get to speak even more. But the thing of it is I won't play the game with them. I'm not going to be a party to that, let's just keep putting out mediocre shit so we can make $1. I'm just not going to do that. I know a lot of good writers who are putting out a lot of good material out there. What gets to me is the really, really, really good researchers rarely get to speak.
No, well, there's a lot of you're right.
Ted Phillips.
At the moment, if you watch the documentary channels, it seems to be same group of researchers over and over again,
It is.
doesn't
It's
it?
the same people. Every time you cut, I'm not going to use anybody's name, but every time you cut, you recognize this face or that face. And I'm friends with half these guys. I mean, I've been knowing them for a long time. Half of them don't like me, the other half do. But regardless, even the ones that I'm friends with, I'm kind of like, guys, come on, man. Anything. Throw me a bone. I don't give a hell what it is. Something, because it's all fun. They make every show like no one's ever seen it before or no one's ever seen them before. And that's not how it is, people. Y'all are in a fantasy land, man. That's why they don't pay a big bucks or anything, because they're just...
Well, these documentaries go out, and what these documentaries producers fail to realize is they're not catching actually any new audiences.
Yeah.
It's the same people watching every week. And people do cling on to the hope, well, perhaps this week it'll be different. It won't go on about Roswell. It won't go on about Rendlesham Forest or this case or that case. But it'll just go on a different take on things. And it's very hard sometimes when you stare at all this, not to grit your teeth and not to sort of like see, please give us something different, And there's a lot of discontentment in the UFO field at the moment. And another problem with the UFO community is it's not just split, it's shattered. There are so many conflicting opinions online and people arguing. Again, the UFO community seems like it's imploding and turning in on itself.
And the ego is rampant.
My message to anyone in the UFO field is everyone needs to stand together and everyone needs to find a common goal. Because if you got a movement going and they're all fixated on one thing, that's when something new may come out. It's like I said, perhaps somewhere there's information what the government have let slip through their fingers and it's just waiting to be released out there. I'm guessing there's a lot of people now thinking, let's do some fake documents or some fake CGI videos.
What's funny about this, Jason, is ICAR has enough data. We could change the field. I mean, literally change the field in ways you couldn't even imagine. We're the ones that did the blood type study, the Graves, reptilian, human studies. We've got 5,000 contactees on this one, 10 on this one. Organization has more than 18,000 already reported to us. It's we have over 44,000 members. We're much larger than MUFON will ever be. But you don't hear about us anywhere, do you? And I mean, we're not far. We're 25 times the size of MUFON in membership. But you don't hear about us. And the reason why is because we do hardcore research, we do real research, and we do abduction research. And they do not want us putting real abduction research on TV. It scares the bejesus out of everybody. And anytime we get involved, I had picked up on some of Carla Turner's work. By the way, yes, rest in peace, Carla Turner. She's a great researcher. Her and Melinda Leslie actually brought me into that military abduction stuff, which somehow or another we got lumped in as experts on. I'm not sure how that happened, but it was me and her and Randy Copain, and of course Carla Turner passed away. We did a special on Coast to Coast on this. You would have thought that we were trying to stab the field to death, that they had almost a heart attack because we involved the government in abductions. But the truth is the truth. I mean, either we're going to present the truth or we're just going to bullshit each other. But I think they like the latter. I think they would rather BS each other than really get into the meat and potatoes of what's going on. But I will say this. Ufology in itself isn't a disaster, but when it comes to the abduction researchers, like Yvonne Smith and Darryl Sims and Mary Rodwell and a bunch of the others, all of our research is similar. There's a lot of similarities. 70, 80% is similar. So there are differences. I don't want people to think we all agree 100%. But whereas ufology is ripped down the middle, abduction research is united in trying to help the abductee. It's a united front in that area. There is no divide in any of us on that. So you can see the real researchers want to work together. It's just the field don't want it. They don't want anything hard hitting put out there. They don't want anything that can scare people, I guess, put out there. I don't know how else to say it, but it seems to be that way. It's all right to talk about conspiracies and the government doing this or the government doing that, or oh, maybe there were some UFOs flying around in the sky, but we don't want to talk about anything that suggests that we may be being visited or we may be actually having physical contact. That just seems to be like, oh my God, let's not talk about that. Please. And let me tell you what, when I started doing radio 14 years ago, I used to catch hell from ufologists for just asking them. Paola Harris, she wouldn't speak to me for a year because I asked her on the air what she thought about alien abductions. And I asked every major researcher the first time in 2000 and 2001 what they thought about it. Everyone gave me a crappy answer. I still got them to this day. I ought to put them in public just to haunt them suckers for that. Every one of them. But now you see today, I catch them, all of them. All of these guys are talking about abductions, and they want to try to hone in on it. I said, well, wait a minute, guys. Y'all were saying back then it was BS or we shouldn't be involved with it. Now you're trying to jump on the bandwagon because whatever you're doing is not working. See, I just find that tacky. I just do. You know, you all of a sudden you become an expert on abductions because of what? You know, why? You just got to wonder about stuff like that. You really do.
I've never, as far as alien abduction is concerned, I mean, I have covered the subject in the Angel.
It's a scary subject.
I've always kept out of the field. I don't know why. I mean, I've always.
I don't blame you.
I've always maintained to this very day that I've never seen a UFO. I've never had any kind of, contact with anything. But I still acknowledge that we're not alone in the universe. And the alien abduction theory, I think, the thing about that is it's been watered down so much over the years. And, you've got shows like The X-Files and Taken, which have taken it to another level. And I don't know, alien abduction for me is, whenever I talk to anyone, I mean, I've had people messaging me on Facebook about I've been abducted. I always refer them because you don't know who these people are. And, as far as alien abduction is, it's a very delicate subject. And a lot of people out there who say they've had experience can get very upset very easily when you kind of fog them off. So I've always kept out the alien abduction story. I did have the pleasure back in the 90s of meeting Johnny Mack. He was an abduction specialist, wasn't he?
Yes, he was a brilliant one too. He had a light on, and having a PhD didn't hurt him, man, that's for sure.
Yeah. I think there is something going on with these people, but it's putting your finger on what's going on. The government will put it down to mass hysteria, It's a term I haven't heard in a long time, but it is a term still about. When you see something on the TV, you think, oh, I've got that symptom, so I must have been abducted. I mean, I went through a bout of sleep paralysis in the early 90s, and, it's scary stuff, but I went to the doctor, got some tablets, and it went away. So,
Yeah, well, that kind of stuff's going to happen. The thing for us is it's a little different for us because we do comparison studies and blind studies. So, we'll set up a study, and then like the blood type study, this was just for contactees to tell us what their blood types were. And then we called everybody we knew who could give us their blood types because we wanted to see if there was anything different, if there was anything out of the ordinary. We found all kind of interesting stuff. It does matter what blood type you are. There is definitely a correlation between blood types and even eye colors, for that matter. There's parts of the planet we thought blood type was doled out evenly around the planet, whatever its percentage may be, but we found that places like South America and Central America are 99% O blood. 99%. That's
that's supposed to be one of the rarest groups in the.
Well, no, it's just It's not O negative. It's O negative and O positive. But it's just South America. Everywhere else in the world is like it should be: 37% this, 42% this, 19% this, 7% this. But for some reason in South and Central America, it's 99% O. And when I've talked to a bunch of researchers and doctors, because we actually use one of the doctors' own, a very famous doctor's blood research worldwide to tell us where the bloods were. so that when we did the blood type study, we could correlate where groups were going. What's really interesting about this, as you can see by his own maps, where there are pockets of abductions that have been reported over the years, and you can see certain types of blood like O negative, or any RH negative for that matter. RH negative, the abductions are like almost 70% RH negative and 30% positive. So it shows that the aliens are looking for something, and they are more interested in RH negative. And RH negative is only 15% of the world's population. So, what is it that they're interested in, or why are they so interested in RH, especially O negative? O negative has been such a huge benefit to man that we don't even who to thank for it.
Well, it's a very rare blood group, O negative is.
It is, but most people don't realize that RH negative didn't show up until 25,000 years ago. We were all positives prior to 25,000 years ago. So no one can quite figure out why Mother Nature created RH negative. There's pros and cons to it, but no one really can tell you why.
There's a lot of mystery. There's a lot of mystery about our past, and I think trouble with mainstream history is that it's not telling us everything we know.
Well, you can't trust it anymore,
and you can't trust the mainstream media services anymore.
I agree with that.
And you watch the History Channel, you wonder if it's true or not. I mean, take the dinosaurs. People still don't know what wiped them out. 65 million years ago. Everyone says it was an asteroid or as a global event, but truth is we don't know what happened. We have trouble knowing what happened 10,000 years ago, let alone 65 million years ago.
They just had evidence that maybe it was Yellowstone 65 million years ago. See, that's the thing. They really don't know.
That's due to go off anytime soon, isn't it?
Yeah, that's another one just waiting to, probably kill most of us, or at least the northern hemisphere.
I mean, when you research history, you do find out a lot of interesting stuff, And I remember doing research for the book, The Angel Committee, and I wanted to lay to rest all the theories about the royal family, the British royal family being reptilian aliens, because I think it's probably one of the most ridiculous conspiracies.
I know, but I was going to say I've seen Doctor Who. They're werewolves anyway. I'm sorry, Joe.
Yeah. Well, again, it's amazing how much sci-fi influences the UFO culture, and I think as far as this reptilian thing is all fascinating, but I think as far as it's concerned, my theory is it was born out of the AT-TV series V, and not to give too many spoilers away about the next book, I am going to touch on the Alien Reptilian series, because it is quite interesting when you think about it.
We got a lot of information on it.
As far as lizards are concerned amongst us, again, I see no evidence. And there's so many photoshopped images out there.
I don't think they live amongst us. They may be visiting, or they may be native. There's a weird thing, and it's something you might want to check into since you're going to write about this. On the Pravda website, it's still there. You can still find it in Russia at the Archaeologist Society, too, in Russia. But there was a map found. It's called the Map of the Creator. It dates back about 122 million years. Problem is, first off, there should be no map 120 million years ago. We weren't here. More importantly than that, it's an aerial resource map. It was taken from an aerial view of a valley, and it shows all the resources in a valley at the bottom of the valley from an aerial view. Now, we didn't learn how to fly till 200 years ago, and we didn't really learn how to fly an airplane until 100 years ago, so who the hell was flying around the skies 120 million years ago? And these are the things like the O-parts. I don't know if you know about the O-parts. These are things that are out of time. Titanium rods being found in volcanic vents, bolts and gears being found, far beneath the surface where they shouldn't belong. Things like this make you think that there was another culture on this planet. And even in recent history, we found out that, for years we were taught, we're 6,000 years old. Civilized man is 6,000 years old. Now we've got cities off the coast of India that house 400,000 people that are 12,000 years old.
Yeah.
We've got a city off the coast of Cuba that probably is 12,000 years old. I mean, that doubles our age, and that's just what we found recently. So you can't.
And that's just what we know, mainstream. What we don't know, mainstream, is probably far more.
Yeah. And it's just a sad thing that they do us this. Okay.
What do you make of all those pictures coming out from NASA about all those objects found by Curiosity? You've got the sphere, you've got, I was looking today, you've got some kind of drill device sticking out the ground, and you've got what the Daily Mail over here are calling the traffic lights just laying on the ground.
I don't know what that traffic light thing is. It is weird looking.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I checked some of the theory the other day about what if that Mars, there was actually a civilization there millions of years ago, and it knew its planet was doomed, so they immigrated to this planet, you know. Even scientists have said that it's now possible for more than one habitable planet to exist within the same solar system.
They think there was 3 here at one time.
Because
Venus, yeah, well, they found Venus's upper atmosphere is identical to Earth's. I mean, identical. So they're pretty sure at one time Venus was a lot like us, because for their upper atmosphere to be like ours is today, at one time their lower atmosphere had to be like ours is today. And now it's in a major global warming. So that's what's so funny about Mars and Jupiter. I mean, Mars and Venus. One's in global warming, one's basically a frozen rock, not quite completely, but on its way. Now, if you could actually siphon off the greenhouse gas from Venus and send it to Mars, you'd actually have 2 inhabitable planets fairly quickly. We're already talking about sending things to Mars just to chew up dirt and burn it so we can raise the pressure. So all we have to wear is breathing masks and not, heavy gear to walk around in. It's a good idea. It won't take no time. Less than 50 years, you can bring the pressure down to Mars where it's bearable for humans to walk outside just by burning dirt, because it creates carbon.
Yeah, it creates oxygen. I mean, there are already people who say there's already people on Mars.
Yeah, well, a lot of people say that. Alfred and I debate that all the time. Alfred Weber's a good friend of mine, but me and him go round and round about Mars. I just did a show on Mars anomalies, about 3 weeks ago, guys?
I mean, if we're going to touch on the subject of secret space programs, I mean, everyone says, well, if it's a secret space program, where are they operating from? And the only thing I can think of right now is the middle of the Pacific, because some of them atolls out there, there's thousands of miles to the nearest mainland, and you could launch anything from there. I think I read the other day that they're building a new major building out at Area 51. I don't know whether you've heard that.
Somebody else mentioned that a couple of weeks back. They had heard that, but I haven't confirmed it. But I have heard it. I just haven't confirmed it. But you know what? We're going to stop. We're going to take a break anyway, so that's a good cutoff point. When we come back, we're going to get into the book a little bit. So guys, we got to talk a little bit before we talk about the book, because we can't give the whole book away. It's not, if we do, y'all aren't going to go buy the damn thing. And remember, it's the Christmas holidays, okay? It's a good time to buy a book. Buy one for your friend, buy one for your girlfriend, your boyfriend, go out there. But regardless, you can go over to the UFO Undercover site, just click on Jason's face. It'll link right back to the book, and you can check it out. I think it's going back to Amazon, actually. Go get, he's got 2 of them there. I think you got the Angel Committee and the Angel Conspiracy at Amazon, right?
And Tales from Majestic.
Oh, Tales from Majestic. Yeah, I forgot about that one, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to, again, give too many spoilers away, but I am thinking of doing another spin-off novel series, so,
Yeah. If you want to write about the reptilians, you need to call me and talk to me. You'd be amazed what we know about reptilians. We've got countless numbers. I've got a couple of videos on YouTube, 1.5 million, 2 million. They're great. But anyway, we're going to take a break.
Okay.
No, great. What was that?
Going back to what you were saying about reptilians, I was talking about the royal family, the British royal family. The only connection I found about the royal family about UFOs is that back in the 1950s, Prince Philip had a royal aide who used to go out for him and investigate UFO sightings. I've got this guy's book. It's called Sounds from Another Room. And he claims that in 1954, November, he met a rather strange man in London who started talking to him about aliens and everything. And there are a lot of UFO people out there who believe that he was an alien, that this Peter Horsley met an alien. And that's the only connection with UFOs. Lord Mountbatten was interested in. He turns up in the Angel Conspiracy, actually. There's a lot of controversy over the people I've used because even though it's fiction, I've used a lot of people from history, and because they're all dead now, and most of the stuff I've used is a matter of history anyway. So Peter Horsley's book, Sounds from Another Room, is absolutely fascinating, especially when you hear his account of Prince Philip's interest in the UFO phenomenon. But we'll talk about that after the break.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. But ladies and gentlemen, run over. Any websites? Anything you want to plug before we go to break? Or
you can look for me on Facebook, Jason Chapman. I'm on Facebook. You can buy my book on Amazon, The Angel Committee and The Angel Conspiracy, as well as Season 1 of Tales from Majestic. And I also have an Angel Committee Facebook page and Tales from Majestic. And I have a UFO magazine Facebook page called UFO Inquisitor.
I think I might be on that. I'll have to go look and see now. I'm always interested in what everybody's saying about UFOs. I try to keep up on them as much as I can.
I try to sift through all the stuff. I know people will say it's a taboo thing, but I do try to get most of my stories from mainstream media sources because sometimes you've got to rely on mainstream media because you don't know what. There's a lot of hoaxers around there,
Boy, there is a lot of them out there, too. There really is a lot. But anyway, let's get our butt to break. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be back in about 8 to 10 minutes. I want everyone to please stay tuned to the Joe Montaldo Show. I'll be back with Jason Chapman. We'll be talking a little bit more about the book and a few other subjects. Maybe the last half hour we might open the phone lines. But until then, I want everyone to please tune in. We'll see you in 8.
But we're saturated by US research over in Great Britain, and that can cause a problem. And in my own research, I've turned up some pretty interesting facts about our own government, especially the whole, the royal family being interested in UFOs during the 1950s and Peter Horsley going out and investigating UFO sightings. And, I've included all that. And I'm definitely open to co-writing a book in the future.
No, we got tons of information. Ain't no doubt about that.
Hopefully, if you ever do a collab, it's not like too conflicting with the kind of story I'm writing. But I respect you and all, and I'm sure. And you have your own thing and our own kind of research and stuff. But I just like I said, I'm just inspiring sci-fi writer, and you're kind of becoming an inspiration for me right now.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, Charlie. I had actually, when I wrote the Angel Committee, I had a chap in the US who emailed me because he saw it online, and he actually sent me a copy of the book all the way from the US to sign, and I was very flattered by that. I'm hoping that I'm hoping to inspire a generation of new authors to kind of come away from the vampire and dragons and fantasy and get back into the UFO conspiracy genre because it's something I enjoy writing, and it is fascinating.
Yeah, and even though you don't hear about much in books and movies, though more so, the movies come that. Like I definitely noticed that you have a lot of aliens and stuff in video games lately, like Halo, Mass Effect, and an upcoming video game for PC, Star Citizen. Even though not as many, but still, I think there is a big interest in sci-fi, space travel, and aliens. So probably not exactly the same as abduction aliens or conspiracy, all that kind of stuff.
No, you're right. I don't play video games anymore. I try to, but yeah, I mean, if to all your listeners out there, if you want to get back into the Angel, if you want to get back into the X-Files type genre, you've got to rally behind something. And people like you, Callie, who are writing novels based on research, and people like me who are writing novels based on research, need to get more exposure. I think ever since the Da Vinci Code was published, there's been a growing concern about certain government organizations, about writers basing storylines on actual historical facts. And I think, go for it. If you're a writer, then go for it. If something happened and it's a matter of history, write about it. And, put it into fiction, because fiction is often, as I've said before, better in fact, far more interesting. Trouble is, with most UFO cases, they don't amount to anything. It's Mrs. Jones looked up and saw a UFO in the sky while walking her dog. I mean, I've downloaded all the files from the MOD and trawling through thousands and thousands of case files. It's boring as hell, and you come across a little gem and you write about that. But yeah, I recommend, Callie, if you want to get into this writing genre, go for it and use your own research. I mean, people love to read about things that may have happened, and that's what the Angel Conspiracy, the Angel Saga is all about, as well as Tales from Majestic.
Yeah, normally I'm not that yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, normally I'm not into conspiracy stuff, but I just do like have interest in like secret government projects and that kind of stuff, like super soldiers and stuff. Even though I don't really think they're real, but in the novel like concept that I have, like it becomes a reality because it takes place at the beginning of the 22nd century, to give enough time for those kind of technologies to actually develop and utilizing stuff like technology handed down from aliens and abductions and that kind of stuff. The main character of the novel actually is a head of D, though he does thinks all that stuff was a dream at first. I don't want to give too much of it away. It's still in the very early stages.
Yes.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
That's right. You got to keep some people to buy the book. I was saying that earlier. Yeah. You have to keep some of the information in. Jason, I have to get you back maybe near Christmas. I'm gonna have Von Bruning coming on about his book we were talking about last week. Maybe I get you on a week before, a week after. I'm trying to get everybody right before the holidays to give them a chance. About 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks before the holidays. That way they get a chance to get that second win for books. We do this every year. We try to push the audience into buying something ufology related for Christmas, if you know what I mean. Or not so much ufology related, but something different.
Well, I mean, I'd say to your listeners, if all of you were fans of the X-Files and Dark Skies out there, and I know there's still a hell of a lot of fans out there who watch repeats of the show. I mean, the Angel Saga, the Angel Committee, the Angel Conspiracy, and Tales from Majestic is definitely right up your alley, and it meets everyone's, what they perceive of a cover-up, as best as I can make it,